Good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon. I think that we just completed quorum, and I know that although it's a light agenda, there's going to be a lot to talk about it, and hopefully we'll finish before 2, and it's Friday, so thank you for calling. I think we're waiting for Commissioner Hardeman, but he has advised that he will be a little late, so we're gonna start. And if we can do the roll call.
Yes. Mayor Regalado,
Yes.
Commissioner Suarez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gort,
Yes.
Commissioner Sarnoff,
Here.
Commissioner Hardeman, will be arriving later, Nathan Curlin,
Present.
Eli Feinberg,
Sure.
Frank Veloso,
Here.
Jay Sadowski,
Here.
Tony Resio.
Here.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Executive Director. Actually, we have 2 items on the agenda, and I guess the most important is the CHOP proposed seaplane agreement. And we have good news and better news from the law department in terms of what happened in the courts. Mr. Deputy City Attorney Joe Greco are here.
As some of you may know, the trial court, we've been in litigation for some years on this case, and the trial court had approximately a year ago granted summary judgment for both sides, but did not decide the issue of who was entitled to possession of the property. The case was appealed to the 3rd District Court of Appeal, which recently, within the last week or so, dismissed the appeal because the trial court hadn't issued a final order, and so therefore there were issues that remained for consideration by the trial court. So where we are is the appeal was dismissed and the case is before the trial court.
And the money in the court registry?
The money is in the court registry, and rent is has been paid into the court registry since.
No, I know, but that would come to Msea when?
At the end of the litigation or pursuant to a settlement that disposed of the money that was in the court registry.
But it will all come to Msea.
It would, if the case was resolved, it would.
And the proposed lease also has, and Raphael can speak on this as necessary. There's a, the proposed lease has a release concerning the litigation, which would include disposition of funds in the registry.
Okay.
There's approximately $227,000 in the court registry.
How long have we been in litigation?
No.
7?
7? I would say
2007.
I'm going to give you an exact date, but we had a number of years. 07.
What we're talking about yesterday with the commissioner.
I thought trucks predated me.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Yeah. Like Eli said to somebody, I was here before you, and I will
I don't
be
think
here
anything
after.
predates
Well, that, you know, that litigation,
Eli.
that litigation appeared even before Eli. You know, it is a long time. But the agreement is what is in the agenda, and I think that we should start with Henry. Henry Torres, our Director of Facilities. Henry has been talking to the principals, and Kurt is also here. And of course, you have the principals here too to answer any questions. So Henry, you can summarize.
Good afternoon, Henry Torrey, Director of Public Facilities for the City of Miami. As you know, the Executive Director of Msea had asked me previously to join in on negotiations for this amended lease. When we looked at the original lease, we noticed that there were several several areas of concern and areas that we identified that we could improve upon. We met on several occasions with the principals, and they were a pleasure to deal with and very accommodating. I'm going to highlight some of the items that we feel where we have improved upon this lease, and then after, Nacho will be available to make any comments or answer any questions. One of the things in the original lease that we were concerned with is that the tenant had the maximum amount of 5 years to finish the construction with no payment performance bond, no liquidated damages for any items, no increase in base rent if he wasn't finished. As you know, this has been an issue here at the City of Miami, in which we have signed deals previously where the city was not protected, residents were not protected from construction or developments that took longer than expected. So what we were able to accomplish here is number one, raise the initial increase in construction rent from $2,500 to $6,000 a month. Doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it was a concession. What we are excited about is that we were able to limit the construction period from 5 years with no penalties to 2 years, including penalties. The penalties are, there will be a $100,000 damages if he is not completed within the second year. In addition to that, and let me backtrack for a second. He has 6 months to turn in his plans and his permits. 18 months from that period to be complete with construction. So there's exactly 2 years from the effective date that this lease is signed. If he is not completed within those 2 years, he pays a $100,000 fine, and his rent automatically goes up from $6,000 a month to $20,833 a month. He's also agreed to, again, in the original lease, there was no performance bond. Here he has willing to place a $2 million performance bond. In addition, once he is completed with the project, where there was no minimum guaranteed rent, it was only $2,500 under the original lease, he has agreed to pay the greater of minimum guaranteed of $500,000 a year and a percentage rent schedule that was in the original lease. Let me just break down what I feel is realistically what we are looking for, looking at in regards to rent payments to the city. There is an aggressive breakpoint schedule with some associated percentages that I feel will provide on just what I feel is market sales per square foot, somewhere in the $500 to $750 square foot in sales range. We feel that the minimum, that what the city will be receiving is probably anywhere from $1,039,000 a month to close to $1.3 million a month. In addition to that, there is some commercial space that he will be receiving, which is about 21,000 square feet, where he will pay rent on that will go to the city. In addition, the executive director had asked me to try to find some money for Msea. And we were very upfront and honest with the principals and advised that the mechanism that we felt that needed to be funded for Msea would be through the commercial space that he would be building. So he has agreed to pay minimum guaranteed rent in excess of market rent in the amount of $200,000 a year, which we're pretty excited about. In addition to that, principals will be building roughly 7,000 square foot historical center, which is going to be open to the public at all times. There will be a 7,000 square foot media center, which will be available to the city of Miami. It's going to be really nice with the backdrop of downtown. You know, we feel it's like the best view in the city of Miami. That will be for charge to CNN or other media outlets. He's agreed to lease that to the city of Miami at any time at no cost. So we're really excited about this opportunity. We really think that we've been able to improve upon the terms of this lease, and most importantly, what I'm excited about is that we've instilled some mechanisms to ensure that he gets his project done in 2 years, and if not, he's going to be highly motivated to finish it because he's going to be paying big penalties. I'm here to answer any questions. If anybody has any questions on the financial deal points, our city attorney is here who helped to work on this lease as well.
Just for the record, Henry, in the original lease, the city did not got any money.
Correct. 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 I mean, the original lease, the minimum guaranteed rent was $2,500. It was gonna stay at $2,500. He had 5 years. It was just a very, very poor lease for the city. And we feel with the principal's cooperation, and they were great. There's some arduous terms that we asked for that they eventually agreed to, and we're excited to get going. At this point, I'm gonna introduce the principals who can answer any other questions that you may have.
Quick question.
Sorry.
Is the city of Miami the only one that has to do the permitting process there, or do they have to do any, I mean, is the city the only institution that has to do permitting, or is it just Durham?
No,
There's gonna be Durham involvement as well.
Cause, I mean, is that gonna allow the 2 years to be enough time? Cause Durham always takes a lot longer than it's supposed to.
We're going, he's gonna work, he's gonna be very diligent in getting those permits, but there's no exclusions. If he has an issue with Durham, 2 years, start,
aware of
he's
that.
paying the $250,000, absolutely.
And if you were ever gonna transfer the company or sell that building, how does that affect the lease?
I'm gonna have to get back, I think our city attorney, Raphael, I think we had inserted some language in there, Raphael. You give us some, yeah, the assignment. I just don't know what percentage that was, I don't know. While Raphael takes a look for that, is there any other questions? I'm sorry?
We need FAA approval, it's been approved, right?
It is, yeah, they do have the FAA approval, there is going to be a notification to the FAA, but yeah, the approval has been sent.
Henry, just two things. The 1586 is the one that goes to Msea, the rest goes to the city?
Of that,
commercial part.
roughly $10 of that will go to Msea,
Okay,
and the first part goes to the city.
okay. And then, the actual rental charge, not for the commercial, but for the other, I had asked the question about the FAA, if there was any restriction on where that money could be used for?
No.
There is no restriction.
There's some restrictions in the adjacent heliport, which has to do with the JPA grant, that doesn't apply.
Oh, it's specific to a grant?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay?
go ahead.
So we're noting for the record that the 2.2 acres has been increased to 2.9 acres of land.
Well, it was 2.4 originally, and they had the option, which has been exercised, to go to the 2.9.
So this is a 2.9 acre parcel, we're not
Correct.
talking about a 2.4.
Correct.
Nacho, you want to,
I think Raphael's in.
I just want to respond to the assignment point. The assignment point is that they need the consent of the landlord to assign, in whole or in part, except for the boutique stores and restaurants. But, they would need the written consent, and perhaps a deal could be brokered at such time. But there isn't a monetary consideration per se for the assignment, understand?
yes, sir, yeah.
The assignment provision, Raphael, that's correct. If we were dealt with a request to approve an assignment for a sublease. However, there's another provision that I want to address after Nacho speaks, which is the leasehold mortgage provision that could give us a transfer to a entity that we did not really approve.
Okay.
And I'd like to address that at that
Okay.
time.
Nacho, you want to
Yes, I want
address
to.
the board?
Good morning to everyone. Well, first of all, congratulations for the team of experts that you have designated to negotiate with me. I have been treated as I haven't been treated before. They are great professionals, and it's been a pleasure working with them. It's amazing, after 59 years, I still feel nervous here like a kid, but I would like to read this for you. I have a feeling of accomplishment today. Less than a year ago, we approved a letter of intent where we stated our mutual intent and commitment to negotiate in good faith the provisions of the transaction under the lease. And here we are today with a written, serious, and very reasonable settlement proposal that is being respectfully submitted to this board for its approval, and that counts with the consensus and support of each and all the professionals involved in the negotiations. It's true that I'm under the impression that I have been a little more flexible than you in these negotiations, but I'm happy with the results. As you know by now, I love this project. I have it in my blood and I have it in my heart. I feel very comfortable with the terms that we have put together. It's true, and I can assure you that we will be jointly embarked in an amazing project. This is not only about constructing and operating a seaplane base. This project is about Miami. It's about providing our locals and visitors not only with the best and most modern and efficient seaplane base of the East Coast of the United States, but to provide them with a unique place a unique experience, bringing back to them and to all of us the adventure and wonderful experience that travel meant to all of us a couple of decades ago. Provide them with the unique experience of flying a seaplane and reaching, while still in Miami, amazing and remote places just a couple of minutes away that are practical and reachable to our visitors by any other means. There are lots of things to be done, and we will do them hopefully together. I hope that I'm very happy with the terms of the agreement. I don't know if there's anything that has to be discussed or not. We talked about that, Jay. I think that there are solutions to that. I would like to clarify that we are not going to assign, we're just going to sublease. So that's important as far as the assignment is concerned. For the assignment, we need your authorization before that, so anything that it's done by an assignment will meet your requirements or your whatever you think. So the only thing we can do is sublease, and we will of course be in the middle between the sublessee and the Msea. So I think that we have a good contract. It's very clear now. We should start immediately starting with the project. Is there anything you want me to do?
Thank you. Commissioner Norris.
Basically, the construction you presented to us about 6 months ago, the same concept, and
Well, no, it was not a concept, it was a volume, that what we were doing. We want, as I told you, I think this is a unique place and it demands a unique design. And as I told some of you, I'm going to, as soon as I get the approval, I'm going to try to see Calatrava. I would like to have them have at least a potato. And we will have an architect firm here develop those lines, but we would like to have something very special. And of course, we have 6 months to present it, but my plans, if you would like to accept it, is that I'm gonna come back in 2 months or 3 months, so if we start from the very beginning. From the very beginning, you already know how it is. We have to make changes, or we want to put something together. I want you to be involved from the very beginning with the project.
Thank you very much. Jay, please.
First of all, you've been very receptive and cooperative in this process throughout, which I think has been very, very much appreciated. I have reviewed drafts and drafts and drafts of this lease basically from day one through today. As of yesterday, with the draft that I reviewed, there were 3 changes that I think you agreed to, and I'd just like on the record for you to agree. The first was on continuous operation, that obligation also includes the restaurants and commercial facilities.
Of course.
Yes.
Second, with regard to the deposited escrowed funds that can be 2.1 million or greater, that 100,000 of those funds are not going to be used for construction, but will be set aside to be security for the liquidated damage provision that requires you to be complete in 2 years.
That's understood. All I would like to say about that, which I just read it last night, that we have been using Greenman Traurig as our escrow for that amount, and if possible, I would like to keep that and any other that we agree.
I don't think that's
would be
certainly not an
okay.
issue for mine. Finally, on the main points, proof of insurance is drafted, you would have 10 days after execution, and I thought from a risk management standpoint that upon execution you would provide that. I believe you've already agreed to that.
Yes, we have the insurance. There are some points about the insurance that I would like to address. If that's the case, we would have to do that, but I think that the amounts that we have in the insurance clause are, not even Miami International is requesting those insurances for their operators there. If we do that, I mean, if you impose that on me, I'm going to be out of market, really. And I guess that if we do that to me, we should do it to everybody, because that everybody goes to Watson Island. We're talking about Tony, of course, and the operators here, they only have insurances for $1, $2 million, and we're asking for $10 million, which is impossible to do. But if that's what you want us to do, we will ask everybody to have that insurance.
Well, I think that the board could approve it subject to risk management.
Right, and what I think I'm gonna do, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Nacho, I'll be speaking to our risk department this afternoon to make sure that they're comfortable with the lower price and the lower limits. And what we will make sure we do is that we don't require that insurance right now. When he's getting ready to open up the restaurants, prior to opening up the restaurants, we'll need to provide that. Prior to opening up the commercial space, he can provide that at that time.
And finally, the issue that I have, that I think that we all need to understand, is that this sublease has a provision that permits the tenant to mortgage its interest in the sublease. That means that if the tenant defaults to its bank, the bank can effectively engage in a bunch of activities. One is that it prevents us as a landlord from going forward and terminating a lease. If it is a monetary default, the mortgage holder can cure it. If it's a non-monetary default, for example, continuous operation, unless and until the mortgage holder gets title, we can't terminate that lease, so you could end up having a facility that is not open, that is not operated, the planes are not flying, that the restaurant is not open, and litigation could take years. And I think that that is problematic.
That's what we have right now.
That's exactly, that's what, exactly. That's one issue. The second issue is, as that clause is drafted, once the mortgage holder would take title, or during a foreclosure put in a nominee, as long as whoever they want to put in has a credit rating equal to or better than who we have, and right now, effectively, you end up with sort of a shell, so the credit rating is not going to be substantial. And as long as that operator had, quote, some experience, we don't have the ability to approve that. To me, that's a fundamental issue, because from my perspective, we're approving this because we believe we're getting a very good operator here. But no one knows what's going to happen down the road. And so I would recommend either that the mortgage provision be deleted, or if the mortgage provision needs to stay in, that it be negotiated so that as a landlord, we would not have to be waiting until title before you could terminate, that there would be some shorter trigger, and that we would have reasonable rights to approve whoever the mortgage holder would put in. And I'm not saying that you do anything wrong, I know that you wouldn't, but let's say that down the road, you had someone you wanted to put in and we didn't like that person. That person could set up an entity and buy the mortgage from the bank. There could be a default, they could go in, they could end up taking over and be someone we didn't even want or approve. And so that provision to me was problematic. Everything else, you've been wonderful, you've agreed to pretty much everything we've asked for, but I find that provision to be of concern, because it could put us back in the same position we're in now.
Well, it's the first time that I know about this today, but I think that we can work out something with the bank. I don't think that the bank is going, I would like to have this, because it's something that it gives us the possibility of getting finance if we needed to. I think that we already are in contact with the banks who, and they're not going to have a problem. I think that they would not have a problem in having some kind of limitations and to subject their rights to whoever you approve to continue in the thing. I think that we should try to look for something there that give us the possibility of maintaining the mortgage, and at the same time ask the banks to agree to what you just said, that anybody coming in or taking over needs your approval. And
I think
Lucia.
that's totally reasonable to require whoever the bank would put in there to be approved by you. On the other hand, I know is that they have certain mortgage provisions in there, so given that, I would suggest that if you, we have your favorable consideration, that we then put that one clause as something that you could negotiate with, one of our real estate lawyers.
Okay, any other board member?
I was just gonna say, I think Lucia's dress is beautiful.
No, I know,
You say the
I
right
know,
thing
it's,
sometimes.
it's a very, Nathan?
Well, I want to thank Jay for bringing up that item. I really, not being an attorney, I don't dig down as far as you do. If negotiations are not acceptable between the bank, what's the plan B?
I actually think I have a solution to that, Jay. So why don't we, if anybody's deciding to do this, why don't we approve it subject to an executive council, which will nominate now of Jay, Recio, and the mayor. let them give final approval of what that language is, we'll delegate that authority. You have 2 lawyers and a mayor, and I don't think any of them wanna be embarrassed. So I think they could get that done in 3 or 4 days, maybe even sooner. But at least we can act as a board today, and I think
Right.
they're 3 very trustworthy people.
I have no
And,
problem
and
with that.
don't you love being nominated? Is there a second for this, their nomination?
So, I guess, thank you, Commissioner. So do we have a motion to approve subject to?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Commissioner Suarez, Vice Chairman Suarez.
Could I,
Okay.
I just ask one more question? I didn't see anywhere, and again, it could be because I'm not an attorney and don't read this as well. Pilot fees,
Payment in lieu of taxes.
payment in lieu, okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. No nays, congratulations, and it's subject to, so Jay, Tony, and we will, the executive director will advise everyone, on the outcome, early next week. Commissioner, welcome, good afternoon. We already voted on the, agreement subject to, a minor detail, and, thank you for coming. So, Nacho, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
I'm very happy to have a unanimous consent here. We'll do something special.
This is part of the settlement of litigation.
Huh?
This is settled, this is.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
It's in the agreement.
Yes.
Make sure everybody.
It goes away.
Yeah, there's a release in the document, the litigation goes away.
Yeah,
And we
and we
get the
get,
money.
and we get the money.
Yeah, we use a lot.
Sure, thank you very much.
I'm very happy for it.
Yeah, but I can't call you.
Not done, Jay, not done. We have one more item.
I talk to Louis all the time.
One,
Smiling. When you finally know the big.
Commissioner, one.
We have to trying to get the light. So we're over.
Yeah, no, we still have the budget, we need to follow the manager's directive to department, and we have to, send, this budget so they can, work on the budget book. So that's why we brought it, so early, and, it's similar to last year's budget, although, with what you've done today, I guess that we will have more money, in the future, but executive director will brief, I think, details of the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pretty much it's a reflection of last year's budget, but for primarily the administrative services. Now that the board has approved the seaplane operations going forward, there's going to be a lot more paperwork, a lot more monitoring, a lot more reporting requirements. So in talking with the chairman, I've increased the administrative services budget line item to $30,000. That'll get me a part-timer on a regular basis that can help with the processing, the permitting, and everything else that needs to be monitored.
Which, by the way, last year.
I held off because I did as much as I could without an assistant because I know we were dipping into the reserves. And I know that it's a concern for you all and a concern for me. So, but now going forward, and I've been advised that the monies that were in the court registry, approximately $220,000 will be coming to Msea, so that'll be included into our reserves, which as of today is $407,000. So between the 220 and the 47, we're above $600,000, and then going forward, there'll be monies flowing in from the seaplane. So primarily, I bumped up the administrative services to be able to bring somebody qualified to help on a regular basis. The rest of the things that are there, as in terms of insurance, our audit, those are some of the regular line items that this board has had for many years. We bumped up the overall budget from 66 to 89,000. Still way under what it originally was some years ago, which was 107. And I think with this budget we can do a lot, and looking forward to much better times going forward for the entire board and for the city.
Do we have a motion?
I have a question before the motion, I just wanted to clarify it. So out of that $220,000 that's in escrow right now, is 100 being held back for liquidated damages? Is that what I heard before?
Check. Not that I know.
No,
I was told
it's
the
all
entire
going
220.
to Msea?
Yeah, the entire 220.
And there's no pass through to the city?
No,
General
I
fund?
was told by
Wow.
legal counsel
We actually
the
have
entire
money now.
220 coming in.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
We have a motion, to approve the budget. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have Mr. Dudley here. He's not in the agenda, so it's at the pleasure of the board whether you want to entertain anything that he has to say, or if you want all of you to set up an agenda item for next month to discuss the heliport, whatever the will of the commissioner.
I'd like to get some information where we are with the heliport.
You wanna do it now?
I don't know if now is the time to do it. I personally have to go in about 10-20 minutes.
That's what a problem, that we were asked to
We can
move.
set up briefings before the July meeting.
We can do briefings,
Prior to the July meeting.
prior to the
No, I
July
can
Set
give
them
a
up.
2-minute update. We are working together. We're working with, internally with our CIP department to do some drafting of FPL lines. We're working with the tunnel people to assist us with some trenching. Paul has done a lot of work on a majority of the area. He's knocked out trees. So we'll be working together in ongoing from this point forward, but we are just moving forward. Go ahead.
Henry, what about the, we talked before about, was it airspace approval and some Kimberly Horn stuff?
Yes,
Where was that?
our city attorney's office had some issues with the language. We're working with Kimberly Horn on that. We anticipate releasing them to go forward by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week.
And once we do, how long does that take typically, do you know?
Although, a couple months.
A couple months, because they're gonna have to go through all of the aviation facilities throughout it.
Right.
The FAA has said that they don't see an issue with, giving them the license again, because they don't really have anything that's changed, but they have to go through the process regardless.
That's all I have.
Timeframe
We
for
will-
the
we
operations
will-
to commence.
Exactly, there's a time frame.
Yeah, we will continue to work diligently with all the parties on Watson Island to get everybody open and moving.
I just can, in case anybody had any questions, some of the board members asked me to show up at the meetings, because occasionally things come up. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Anybody has a question for Paul?
But if you do hear anybody saying about trees or activity being removed, it's all under permit. We are moving forward. There are construction people there. And so if anybody should call or ask, it's all been filed and approved and the way it's supposed to be.
Okay, so is July okay for the board to go into a more detailed discussion on the heliport?
And we have two presentations, the Lotus, one of the groups that we funded last year in the arts, they wanna come back and tell you what they've done with the money. and there's another group as well that wants to
Yeah,
do a
wherever we can
presentation.
fund, I think we should get it reported again.
Absolutely, so we're having them come back.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.